everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to Ohio Exopolitics. I'm your host, Mark Snyder. We are now in Studio B at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we've got Alexander McCaig on, who is our go-to guy for the Meyer stuff. At least, kind of has worked out that way pretty well.
Life just happens, you know.
It does, man. I'm telling you. It's how was your weekend?
Weekend's been pretty fantastic, and it's nice being here in Studio B. You know, I'm warming up, feeling pretty good. It's overcast today, but it's been quite relaxed. I did a nice 10, 11-mile hike yesterday up in the Sandias. Wow. So I'm feeling pretty good.
That's a long hike.
I was shooting for 14, but the snowpack was, 8, 10 feet thick still up there, so it was pretty significant.
You know, when you get high up on those mountains and you get that snow up there, it does something to your perceptions. At least it did to me when I was at Munns Park. It's like I can't tell quite how far away that snow is. It's weird, man. It's weird.
Yeah, you can look at the mountain and be like, oh, there's not that much snow on it. But when you're up there, you didn't realize you were looking at it miles away. It's a ton of snow.
Exactly.
You know?
And sometimes it stays snowy all the time, regardless of how warm it is. It's a weird world up there. At least that's what I thought.
No, it's a good world. You know what I like about hiking and like being on the mountains in like the higher alpine regions?
Mm-hmm. No.
Silence, lack of people, isolation. Silence. I love it.
Silence.
Yeah,
it's strangely silent, isn't it?
Yeah, wonderfully silent in my case. I prefer it more than anything else. The world is too loud, Mark. There's too much nonsense going on. There's too much noise, and not just noises and sound, but like informational noise too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I played at a brewery this weekend, and I hadn't been down that close to the river in Zanesville.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about too much movement. Boy, there's so much water, and it was so high it was about to spill out of the canals, which are down there. And driving down to the brewery, Weasel Boys Brewery, I could see where they had put some stop signs up because this whole side of the hill had caved in.
Oh, yeah.
It was very bizarre. I looked at that, man, and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I just can't even get over that, you know?
Yeah, water. There's just the earth has these huge pockets underneath its crust. And things cave in all the time. You see it in Florida with sinkholes. You see it in Ohio at the side of the mountains. You find them in the Hindu Kush. I mean, we got them everywhere. It's like your skin. Your skin's porous, is it not?
Yeah, but man, when you see it on a big scale, it's
something else.
A little overwhelming, I think. And I was looking at your higherdensityliving.com.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And what are you guys going to post there? Everything or?
Oh, yeah, we post everything. You know, we have a lot of videos. We get millions of views. So it's pretty cool. I'm just glad people are listening and paying attention. That's all that really matters.
You know, Saturday I played at that brewery. The guy that owns it's a buddy of mine. And the guy that played with me, he does wood flute and congas.
Sweet.
Sings. And it was an event for the Zanesville Farmers Market.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's good people that are in touch with the earth, I guess.
Yeah, or like want to, you know, they say that they try to be. But I'm glad they're at least spending their money in a good spot.
Yeah. Gosh, it was last year. I played one of their events, and I got like $65 worth of tips, man. That was very encouraging. But the key is to stay neutral when you play out like that, because you never know how people are going to respond or not respond.
Yeah.
You know, and you always tend to put it on yourself, you know, but it really, a lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with you.
Do you, Do you, do you like typically want like a lot of people to pay attention? Do you feel like your
I like
music has
playing.
an impact?
I like playing background music, but you know,
Yeah.
either way is fine with me. But
Yeah. You know the way I see things, Mark? If I speak or live or act by an example or as an example,
mhm.
as long as one person gets to learn from it, I've done my job.
Good for you. Yeah.
I can go throw this body over here in the dirt and then call upon the next one. But as long as you can do that with one, you should be satisfied because you've essentially doubled the amount of consciousness power around those more positive, neutral, equalized thoughts, more creational teachings. So you don't have to go out and say, I need everybody to do this. I need everybody to follow this. I need everyone to pay attention to me. You just
well,
get
here's
one.
the deal. Here's the deal. If you play Bach, you're going to be playing background music. It's going to turn into background music. If you're playing Metallica, everyone's going to listen.
It's always on the front end. Well, listen, if you're playing Bach, I'll be rocking out to Bach. You know what I mean? That's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But you never know how people are going to respond.
No.
So you have to keep yourself neutral, which is much easier said than done, especially if you're, let me ask you this. I love having enthusiasm, and I wish I had more. But a lot of times my enthusiasm, it's what pulls me off of the balance.
Okay.
Do you ever experience that? Like you get so enthusiastic that you're too positive.
No, I don't. I think the enthusiasm leads, or my optimism leads to enthusiasm.
Okay.
And I don't think that knocks me off the path because the prerequisite being optimistic for being enthusiastic, that comes from being, just positive and neutral. Because for you can be enthusiastic about something because you're optimistic, and not that the thing has to work out, but you do have a hope that it does work out for the better. So you are neutral about it, but you won't be disappointed with the fact that it doesn't work out, but you are definitely enthusiastic about going into an experience, which is not a bad thing to have. And it doesn't throw you out of whack. As long as when you go through and you're like, hey, I got to define, like, is this a really good experience? Is this bad? How do I balance this out? How do I balance that out? You can take all the experiences in your life and just say, hey, this is really good learning material for me. This is a great catalyst for me to grow from. That sort of attitude in and of itself is positive and neutral. It's very equalized because it doesn't matter if something is negatively or positively affecting you. It's just learning material. And if you take that approach, regardless of the enthusiasm, optimism, or whatever else, you don't have to worry so much about saying, am I balancing this out enough? Is the way I'm looking at things balanced enough? The approach, it's almost like your algorithm to life becomes a natural course of balance because you're learning. The whole goal of life is to learn. So if you look at everything as strictly a teaching moment, beautiful. Great. You're already heading in the right direction for your evolution.
Well, okay. So anyone listening to this in the future, we got connected to Studio B like just moments before we went live. It's not the best way to do it. And Alexander, you made the most obvious suggestion.
Yeah.
Because I'm sending these messages to Mad Painter, who's the guy that does a lot of this stuff. They call him Mad Painter. He's a painter. But he was ignoring everything that I was sending him. So why did you? So you said call him, and I'm like,
yeah,
that'll work.
Of course, it'll work.
Why will it? Why do I have to call him? I don't know, but
it works. Works like a charm every time.
I don't understand, but it's very good.
People know that I'm going to call. Typically, yeah. So when people ignore me, I leave them a voicemail. You know, my voicemail usually says, "Hey, blah blah blah. I just want to let you know that the year is 2024, and everybody has their cell phone on them 24/7. Give me a call back." And you know what they do? They call me right back.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark. What do you want to discuss?
Cell phones. Oh my God, cell phones. I'm not a cell phone person, but I'm trying to force myself. I'm getting better. What do
you mean by that?
But you're right. What? Oh, I hate cell phones.
Yeah.
I used to. The whole UI is just painful.
Mhm.
Everything it does is completely unintuitive. It's just wrong. But I'm having to face the fact that you're right. The world keeps their cell phone on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that unhealthy? We're getting blasted by all this electromagnetic pollution all the time.
Yeah, it's a dirty type of radiation is the best way I would describe that. And when you don't want to
put it in your pocket.
Well, just keep it 12 centimeters away from your body. So, you got the law of squares, right? Inverse square law. I mean, the distance away, it kind of drops off, right? The signature on it. But just remember, everything we do, we're walking around, everything's emitting a radiation. Just don't keep the thing next to your nuts, right? Or next to your head 24/7.
Well, people put it in their pockets.
Yeah.
Which is right there in the danger zone, right?
Yeah, I don't like having it around me in that fashion. I know that. Yeah, it's just the aspect of like the weight of the object itself. I don't really like that much. I try to keep it away from me, and that's why I moved over to one of the smartwatches. It's much lighter. It doesn't emit as much. It still has the cell carrier signal on it, so I don't have to be near my phone all the time. I needed to get away from it.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. No, but
what's this crazy QR code that's being put on everything, and nobody's noticing it?
Yeah, so
and they force it on us. Isn't it crazy?
Japan's been using the QR code since the 90s. It was only slowly adopted here in the United States, and then it really took off during COVID. It happened with like menus and ordering and stuff like that. And when it was embedded into the camera technology on phones, it was an easy way to access stuff. So now the idea here is that when you go to search something, Mark, searching isn't just about typing on a keyboard anymore. Now you're searching visually with cameras, and you're searching auditorily with sound or speech. And so search has changed and how people are doing things. So access to search, access to knowledge, and how knowledge can visually be put on something is different. And it almost creates this digital interaction with things that weren't inherently digital in the first place. And it also allows for better tracking. So that's why many businesses have opted for it.
Okay, we could do a whole show on QR codes.
Oh, we totally could. Yeah.
That's the whole unbelievable story. There's this doctor. I have to get you to hear this guy.
Okay.
His name is Dr. Artis, and I really think this guy is just really onto something. Here's what he said. I tried to write this down, and maybe we can talk about it briefly, or a long time, doesn't matter. It says, the two spike proteins of COVID are two neurotoxic snake venoms. I know that sounds like insanity. He says nicotine keeps people from getting sick from COVID. Now, let me start with the nicotine thing. Okay, I don't smoke. I hate smoking, just to let you know, I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But nicotine occurs in nature.
It does.
A lot of our vegetables have nicotine in them, like eggplant and tomatoes, and I think some beans. So nicotine is really good for your immune system if you get it from natural sources. Now, what they've done with cigarettes is they've put like 200 additives in them, which are so dangerous. I mean, they're just horribly dangerous. So anyway, this is another category for a future show.
Okay.
There's just so much information. I don't want us to just,
You can't glaze over it. Yeah, you have to give me a little bit of time. I will read all the research. I smoke a pipe when I have the free time. Oh my gosh. When you get the vanilla coated, like pure pipe smoke tobacco, oh my gosh. It is just, it warms you to your core.
as long as it doesn't have all the damn additives.
No, there's no additives. It's dried. I know exactly where it's sourced from. We get some good shops here in Santa Fe. I don't do it prolifically all the time, but I just didn't do it to just sit down and just chill for a second. It's all good.
Okay. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there's so much that's being hidden, so much that's being, anyway, it's a whole nother discussion. But, okay, that was kind of my initial intro that I had planned for
the snake venom.
Well, we're going to talk about that. I don't know if we want to get into that right now.
Yeah, let me research it a little bit more. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yes, because it's easy to make snap judgments on.
I know, and I don't want to do that.
Right. I wouldn't have brought it up if it was totally insane. Maybe if it was a little insane, I would bring it up.
I'm okay with totally insane. I'll let you know if it's totally insane. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Okay. The Way to Live, page 119. So let's slip into the Myers stuff.
Oh, good.
And it says, life does not mean suffering or grief, rather fulfillment through striving.
Yeah. This is
I've got this thing. Sorry to interrupt you. I got this thing that I do when I get fatigued, but I want to continue my striving. And this is one of my little tricks. Like I'll do 15 minutes of work, striving towards something, then like a 15-minute break. And I do that when my energy's running low, and I need to recharge my batteries. Do you have any approaches like that, or
no?
Comments?
I'm a 0 or 100 kind of thing. So it's either I do nothing, or when I'm doing it, I go completely all out until the body's like, all right, we got to shut this down. It's been 14, 15 hours. And then, and then I go to sleep and recharge. That's all I do.
Wow. So you're like either sleeping or going like hell.
Yeah. I haven't met an in between yet for myself.
Okay. Wow.
It's like me with hiking. I'm not going to go out and do like a 4-mile hike. What a waste of my time. I'm going to go out and do the whole thing.
You're gonna do how long was that hike you wanted to do? Was
the one I wanted to do probably would have taken 5 hours, 5.5 hours.
Wow! Did you bring your dogs or?
I usually bring the dogs, but I knew it was a high trafficked area and I didn't want to have to deal with the canines and other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Do they bark?
Oh my God! Do they bark? They're cattle dogs. Yeah.
Oh my God!
They bark like mad.
Cattle dogs run too, don't they?
They are very, very quick animals.
And like when they go, they go.
Yeah, you're
not going to catch them.
No.
It's like
no, you're not. Get back here. Yeah.
You just hope they listen.
Yeah,
you're not going to catch them. That's funny. Yeah. So anyway,
can we go back to this Die Arzt Leben that you had here?
Sure. Yeah.
The quote. You read it one more time, and I want to talk about the impetus of it.
Life does not mean suffering or grief, rather fulfillment through striving.
Yeah. So this is an explanation that goes against a ton of, let's say, some Buddhist philosophy, where people say that life is just suffering, right? And you're just working your way through the suffering. And then there's also a little bit of a touch of Catholicism. Say, you suffer, you sin, but then God has to atone for it. But the Buddhists say you have the karma and you have to wash yourself with the karma. But really, it has nothing to do with it. You're just living, making mistakes, learning, and then altogether that's striving, because we want to perfect what we do. We want to perfect how we think, walk, talk, act, sound, look. It's the nature of what we do. The interesting aspect of it is we're striving for this perfection. We try to grow our bank accounts, get better homes, be better people, do all these things, right? Achieve more in the material. But it's funny that the body is aging and dying while you're actually going through the aspects of perfection. But so many of us focus on perfection of the body itself. But little do we know that the consciousness is the thing that becomes perfected. It's not the body. The body was perfect in its genetics, right? In a relative sense, when you were born. But when you're born, you start dying. So what are you doing striving so hard to perfect this thing? What you need to do is maintain the vessel that allows you to then go through the aspects of perfecting the thing inside this giant noggin of yours. That's the goal, right? And it's not suffering. It's like I told you earlier. You have positive and negative material that comes to you all day long. And you talked about enthusiasm. life in striving, if you take everything as learning material, it's not here to harm you. Forget that. If it's all striving material, if it's a learning material, you're naturally going to evolve. You're going to do all the right things to fundamentally support your learning journey and your consciousness to absorb love, knowledge, wisdom, truth, peace, harmony, concord, all of those great things, equanimity. They'll naturally come together. You'll find that balance through your equalization mark by taking life just as this giant school. That's what it is. It's the school of life. But this idea of suffering, guess what? Some stuff sucks. Yeah, you suffer for a second, but all in all, life is not made to be a punishment. It's not made to be a place where you suffer. Life is designed to have you learn and strive, to find that perfection. But the focus of your perfection should be an internal one, right? Not an external one like the body.
My niece is kind of a Buddhist, and she is in the Buddhist life is suffering kind of viewpoint.
What a lame way to live. Yeah, but go ahead.
I was really shocked when she told me that, but she's very smart, one of the hardest workers that I've ever met. But it seems like that philosophy would be very damaging after a while. Because you're creating circumstances with your mind, right?
Yeah, you just consider yourself a victim to life all the time, which is crap.
Yeah.
You're not, at that point, you can't hold self-responsibility for your actions because you said life is just suffering. So you just anticipate that life is punishing you as this life victim. It's stupid. It's actually it's a sick, believing, imbalanced nature that's completely unreasonable within the mind.
It would affect your health after a while.
Oh, it absolutely does. And it's going to change the chemical balance in your brain and how you view things. Why do you think like people who are victimizers find other victims and they come together and coalesce in groups so they can all share their victimhood together?
Yeah, I don't know. That whole that's where criminality gets involved, right?
Yeah, I was just having a conversation about criminality with my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. It's really not that hard to not go to jail. It's not actually, it's really tremendously not, it's not a big feat. It's just, it's not hard to not screw it up. Some people are just really good at it.
Yeah. People, I think, say too much sometimes.
All the time.
Yeah.
They don't have certain aspects of self-control, but altogether as a whole, it's not that hard to not go to jail, to break the law.
Well, I'm very thankful that I've not gone to jail.
Good. Doesn't look like fun.
But I don't know. Sometimes I think under the right circumstances, you could get yourself in big trouble.
Well, of course you could. They say, for instance, you're like, I don't know. Say
Have you seen people that cut people off on the road? They do it on purpose. They pass you and then they pull right in front of you and then they slam on their brakes.
Sure, all
What's
the time.
What's that called?
It's called brake checking.
Brake checking. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, people do it all the time. The issue is now you can't get upset with it. Because if you get out of the car, people are so unstable. Someone may pull a gun on you just for road rage. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Let them brake check you. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's really, I'll share something funny. I got a big truck I drive. Okay?
Oh.
Big truck.
I've got a Prius.
Yeah, I drive a Ford F-250, right? Big truck, big diesel truck. Now, I keep my stuff in immaculate condition.
Good.
But the horn stopped working. I'm like, okay, whatever. I liked using the horn, because people drive poorly. But now, I just let them drive. And there's no sound that comes from me other than just the truck being on. I can't instigate any road rage or do anything else. It's just is what it is. I know I have to fix it, but it's kind of funny.
Does it help you? I mean,
yeah, it actually, this is my point. This is my point. I'm a better driver. Now I'm even more defensive in my driving. Yeah. And I'm also not using the horn to like push people to go faster or do something else. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's quite funny. I knew I need to get it fixed, but I like the no pun intended, the tone of my driving now.
It's helped you in a way.
Yeah, it has helped in a way.
Do you think people sometimes drive too fast on these roads?
All the time.
Yeah.
I drive too fast in some respects. I really do. I mean, I live out here in the desert, so
Yeah.
roads are big and wide and open.
And there's not a lot of traffic.
No, there really isn't. And I'm not worried. I'm not worried about people driving fast. What I do worry about is people that are drunk driving, because it's super easy for people to do that out here.
Oh, is it?
Yes, very, very easy. Very easy. And it's not like we have Ubers. You know what I mean?
They get away with it.
Oh, all the time, Mark. All the time. But just because you can get away with it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It's very dangerous. That's the thing you have to be very cautious for.
I also don't like driving at nighttime anymore.
You don't?
Probably because I'm just getting older and my vision isn't as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
A lot of things can jump in front of you. And
do you know, I was coming back from, I'll share a little story. A couple of years ago, you know I live out here in New Mexico. I was coming back from Alamogordo, White Sands. You ever been there?
Missile base?
Yeah, the missile base. Yeah.
What are you doing out there, man?
Well, they got a national. What
are you up to, dude?
they got a national park out there, right? Don't worry.
Okay. That's your cover, isn't it?
Yeah, they got a nice national park. Anyway, so I'm coming back. It's like 2:00 in the morning.
Holy shit!
And I'm coming from the southeast quadrant of New Mexico, driving north. And I come over this bend. I'm doing 80, 85, middle of the night. And as I'm coming over, there's this massive steer in the middle of the highway.
Oh, see, that's the thing. It can happen.
It can happen. And I mean, I dodged it.
Good
that time
you.
I was driving a Subaru, but it scared the shit out of me.
No kidding.
Yeah, but that's the tough part at night. The light can't travel far enough, like off of the car. I don't have a problem seeing, but it's just the distance about what you're allowed to see can't go far enough. You can't sense it quick enough. So that's just the only difficulty. It's really wildlife.
Well,
you don't want to slam into a steer,
Oh, no. Have you ever heard of the movie Michael with John Travolta? He plays the Archangel Michael.
No.
And he likes to battle. It's this thing. He likes to battle. And he battled with a steer. They went head to head. And Michael won.
For me, I don't know what it is about angels, but it just perturbs me. The whole idea of them is very off-putting for me.
Well, man, this is another show. We got to put this in our calendar.
Yeah, you need a list or like a whiteboard, man, so you can write it down.
Kidding. See, because angels, to me, is a misnomer now.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a misnomer. Now they have this idea of people with wings sticking out their back. And I don't think they ever were that way. Although there are certain books that talk about the seraphim, the six-winged angels and the four-winged angels and all of that. It's a bit of a fascination, really.
Yeah, people become obsessed with it.
People talk about fallen angels and that extraterrestrials are really just fallen angels. This is a whole show.
Yeah.
The Book of Enoch and the Watchers. Do you have the Book of Enoch?
I do have the book. Yeah. It's an old book. It's been removed, hopefully, from the Bible. And so you have to go to other versions of it, find it in other places. But yeah, I do have the book.
The 200 Watchers, that's a very interesting story.
I think it's pretty normal.
Explain.
Yeah. Everybody.
The giant?
Yeah, giant. Yeah, no problem. You can find giants' bones right now. Go to Ohio. They're right under the Indian burial mounds over there in central Ohio by the Air Force.
Yeah, but
Base.
those are just little 8 and 9 foot giants. I think
they have big ones.
30-foot giants.
Yeah. There's big people. Here's the interesting.
They're hiding those. They won't let us see those.
Let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
We have this. There's one film that nailed it, and I'll go over this. We have this idea that if something comes from space, right? Let's say like an extraterrestrial.
Right.
That they have to be huge. And I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they're not. Or their spaceships have to be enormous because it's space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is just as much a probability that a race of extraterrestrials are giants as much as they are extremely, extremely tiny in very small craft.
Very interesting.
Space or creation knows no different. It's testing itself. And just because something's small, very, very small, doesn't mean it can't be tremendously evolved. Do you remember the original Men in Black film?
I've watched so many of those. I don't remember if I watched the original or not.
Okay, so in the end part, and the face comes off, or it was the jeweler.
Yeah.
And remember that little man that was sitting inside controlling it?
Exactly. About an inch.
He was about an inch big, but he's still highly, highly evolved. And that's the one thing I think that Men in Black did very, very well with their film, is that they showed all of these different ranges of possibility. I mean, some of them were extreme, but it doesn't really matter. My point here is that, yeah, giants, sure. Watchers 200, fine. You know, there's probably billions and billions and billions and billions and billions, just massive amounts of numbers of extraterrestrials, but they come in all different shapes and sizes. And every time somebody looks for a UFO, they said, where's the giant ship? Right? Where's the ship in the sky that I can see? I bet you there's probably more of the smaller ones you can't see zipping around all the time than really looking for the big ones.
There is a show that you may want to see. I watched it this weekend. It's 218 American. It's a science fiction film. It's called UFO. It's written and directed by Ryan Esslinger.
2018.
And,
yeah,
2018. With Gillian Anderson, which is the red-haired lady, I believe, from the other UFO thing. And then Alex Sharp. Anyway, the story focuses on college student Derek Chavaro's attempt to prove the existence of extraterrestrials with his mathematics professor, Dr. Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was so interesting for me, partially, is the story took place in the Cincinnati International Airport. That's where I grew up, Cincinnati.
Isn't that where he had his experience?
Yes. But another thing that was very interesting is they talked about something called the fine structure constant.
Yeah.
Which comes out to like 1/137.
Yeah, so what happens is a fine structure constant that came from the Michelson-Morley experiments in the late 1800s. The idea here is that you have spectrographical lines, right? Spectrography. And what they were doing is they were looking at the hydrogen atom, I think. And there's a distance between the emission of the lines, and what they were trying to do was quantify that space. And quantifying that space tells you the strength of the bonds within an atom from, what the hell are they called? Primary? No, crap. The words escape me. Doesn't matter. So
electromagnetic?
Yeah. Elementary particles. Thank you.
Yeah.
So electromagnetic. So you have an electromagnetic bond, right? Force between these things and of these elementary particles inside of an atom, especially the hydrogen atom. And so through that experiment, there was a space. Now, depending on the space between the lines, help them quantify this measurement, which is the need for this thing, to determine, okay, like this is the strength of the bond between the particles given the distance, and here is the quantified value for it. And now today, since 1886 or 84 or 87, one of those years, since Michelson-Morley, someone came to the conclusion to come up with this constant to be used in mathematics for an expansion upon the Bohr's model, right? Niels Bohr, he did a ton of work around this, so that we could build more equations and have better understanding between elementary particles within that space and electromagnetism, because it's a very fundamental thing of creation itself. I don't know how it plays in the movie. I haven't seen the film.
So are you talking about the spectral lines of the hydrogen atom?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So everything emits frequency in light. Okay. Now, depending on the emission of essentially the spectrum of color, you can tell what something is made out of. You can do it with metal assays. You can do it with a ton of different stuff. And they used to have these really big machines. They were curved. Well, these new ones, they're curved, and you can look almost inside of the spectral nature 3-dimensionally for yourself. You can see all the different breakdowns, and it could tell you what the composition of certain materials are. But in certain things, one specific element, you can break that out and then see how that has its own composition of light, essentially.
I think somehow this UFO was emitting a sound that for some reason was related to the fine structured constant.
Cool. I got to watch this. It sounds cool.
It is very cool. And this UFO emitted something that that told them when it would come back. And it did. It come back at a certain point in time, which is very interesting. So that was a great show. I mean, a great show. And they also, when you talk about the fine structure constant, it's the speed of an electron orbiting the atom. The maximum speed is like 1/137 of the speed of light.
Well, because if it goes too fast, what's going to happen? It leaves the orbit. It's got an escape velocity, right? There's only so much of a strength that it can have at that level, I would assume. I'm not a physicist. I'm not. I'm just taking principles that I kind of know.
Right. The show is called UFO, I believe.
I'll check it out. I'm definitely going to check that. It sounds really cool.
It's worth watching again. I think I might watch it again. Okay, I have a show that I love that has terrible reviews.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Battlefield Earth? They're remaking it, by the way.
I saw that they're remaking it. I haven't seen the original.
The original, man. I love that show. It's called The Saga of the Year 3000. It's okay. There's a novel of the same name, Battlefield Earth, by the Scientology guy, L. Ron Hubbard.
Really?
Yeah. Now this gets way out.
Oh, here we go.
It was directed by Roger Christian, John Travolta, who played one of the giants. You got to see this too.
This sounds great.
It is totally great. So these giants come in the spacecraft and they take over the Earth, and it takes them only like 9 minutes to take the whole Earth over.
It sounds about right.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
was it like a classic?
It's a classic.
Like
it's one of those shows.
Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. Court, don't do that.
No, it's not. It's more sophisticated than that. You have to pay attention to the way they depict the giants. They're very intelligent, but they have no integrity whatsoever. They're like stabbing each other in the back and trying to cheat each other.
Do you know there's a... did you ever read in the contact reports about Andron the Giant?
That sounds familiar.
It should sound familiar. There was a repeat visitor at the Semyase Silver Star Center. I don't know this for a fact. It's only what I've read. This guy's name was Andron. He was this huge giant, like massive. But him and his buddy, they would like hang out, like pick up like giant logs, like relax and chill, like do things that would seem like almost superhuman to us given their size.
Sure.
Yeah, but for some people it would be quite shocking. And there was one person who was vehemently against Meyer back in the day. Wanted him dead. And it was eating this person up inside. And they said, "You're a liar, you're a charlatan, you're a fraud." And they ended up seeing Andron one night on the property. And the person shortly committed suicide after.
No kidding.
Yeah. There's a lot and I've heard about this before in other aspects. For instance, when some people see UFOs, like really close, and it almost debases their reality too quickly with how they understand the world or how physics works. And it sends them into psychotic breaks.
Oh my.
People have such fine, rigid belief structures that are very, very fragile. Events like this can be extremely damaging to them in their consciousness, like their psyche. Right. It'll fail on them because they don't, everything that they've built their world on it's completely pulled out from underneath them. They have no foundation anymore.
Right.
And so the aspect of giants is really interesting. If I saw one, I'd be like, that's really cool. It's amazing. Look out for my slingshot,
Exactly.
I'm coming for you, you big tall bastard, but I'm tall. If somebody,
you're kind of a giant anyway.
Yeah, I'm 6'5". If somebody was twice my height, I'd be like, holy crap. I'd be like, that is when I see people that are taller than me, I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like to look up. But it's rare. But that's like most things in life, whether it be a giant, or I don't know, I don't care what it is. We have to take the time to build open, fundamental, equalized understandings of the world around us and not try to be too biased, because when typically you end up being so biased, you get something that just rocks you. You're like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Everything I thought is it's not what I thought it was. And you want to make sure that you have the right materials, tools inside of you to be able to handle that. And so it would behoove us not to be so biased towards creation or nature, because it comes in an infinite amount of variations, and it will most likely shock you.
Probably the reason I have this show and do this show is that at a very young age, my worldview was destroyed.
How come?
Because I, on a regular basis, had this craft that would come into view from my window.
Very cool.
As a kid. Oh yeah, it's a long story. It's that fourth show we're going to do.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah. So anyway, that makes you look at things differently.
You can't, the way it impresses itself on the mind. I mean, Mark, whether you're psychotic or not, had the experience or not, you still feel that it was real, absolutely. Regardless. I'm not judging you. I've had plenty of experiences. I'm stating this for anyone who's a listener to be like, this guy's clinically insane. Well, whatever. Who cares? It's real to him, So what the importance is, what did it drive you to do? That tells you if the impetus of something like this was really truthful, is what I've found. You can't forget about it. It causes you to rethink how you look at things in a more rational and reasonable way. And you do things for the betterment of others that you otherwise wouldn't have done in the first place if you couldn't recall upon an experience like this.
Right.
So that's how I know the things are doing the right thing, that it was a very real, positive experience. Did it have a shape?
Yeah.
Did it have a shape?
Yeah. The craft?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Have you ever seen the guy from Mexico? His name is Carlos Diaz, who took photographs in the 70s.
Yeah, I've seen these photos.
The yellow-orange thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever seen those, that is what I was seeing.
Very cool.
In fact, my father came in to the room and saw the same thing out there a couple times. But my father, when he was a kid, also, him and a friend were walking down railroad tracks, and they had a silver disc fly over to the top of them. So they say that goes in generations.
It could. Probably follows things.
Yeah. Maybe something in genetics or something.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, say, Mark, you're like a fresh spirit. Do you get to choose the body you fly into? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think it just rips it at random. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't think you have any choice. I mean, I think you're put where you're supposed to go.
I'd say unless you're significantly evolved, like you're old, like old spirit, really, really, extremely old. Billy. Yeah. Yeah. I think then you get a choice. Yeah. I think you're like, I'm going to choose exactly what body to go down to because I got something to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But very important.
For the larger majority, almost 99.9999%, I'd say it's just a rip off the old tag. Yeah, I'll take that one. That looks good, right? Right off the coat hook. That's a good jacket. Throw that one on. I don't know. I don't know. It'd be cool to know, though. So when you talk about the generational thing, makes me wonder, was someone choosing? Do they follow the spirit or are they following the people? I don't know. I really don't. It's fun to think about, though.
My father told me, he said when he came in the room that it looked like I was almost disappearing.
I love that. That's so
bizarre.
Cool. No,
I
Mark,
mean,
it's not bizarre. That's just so cool. That'd make a great science fiction movie.
So I grew up in a science fiction movie.
You are Battlefield Earth.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to cover a little bit of the Bible. We haven't talked about the Bible yet today at all.
My favorite book. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
This is Matthew 28:18. Early in the morning, as Jesus was on his way back to the city, he was hungry. Seeing a fig tree on the road, he went up to it, but found nothing on it except leaves. Then he said to it, "May you never bear fruit again." Immediately the tree withered. When the disciples saw this, they were amazed. "How did the fig tree wither so quickly?" they asked. Jesus replied, "I tell you the truth. If you have faith and do not doubt, you can do what was done to the fig tree, but also you can say to this mountain, 'Go throw yourself to the sea,' and it will be done." That's a lot there to digest.
This is the one we know as Jesus, aka Jesus, right? Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is an aspect of the powers of consciousness. And there's a deep knowingness with creation. This person has no doubt in anything that they do. They have a level of assurance and knowledge that dwarfs all of us here on the planet today. And their level of connection with nature and creation, one and the same, says that if you think something, that then becomes the reality. That's what this boils down to. In showing this by example for people back then helps reaffirm the power of thoughts. Speech is a vocalization of thought. So yeah, he's saying it, but the real breath of it is the signature which he is emitting, telling the thing to do something because of the power of the consciousness itself. The mountain's not going to throw itself to the sea. That's just it's an exaggeration, but I understand the point of the exaggeration. And to talk about the tree itself, I don't know how fast it withered, but I will tell you, we've done plenty of consciousness studies and plants hooked up to polygraph detectors to know that they are responsive to our thoughts. You know? So if somebody was really, really good at concentration and connection with their thoughts in nature, they could probably get plant material to do things.
I agree.
Yeah. And there's plenty of evidence for it.
Cucumber plants are weird, man.
What are you talking about, Mark? What the heck are you talking
about? Watch how they grow.
You want me to watch how a cucumber plant grows?
Yes, you can watch. They grow towards those, those little structures you use for tomato plants to grow up into.
Oh yes, those cages. Yeah.
Yeah, the cages. The cucumbers will grow towards those cages and then go up those cages too, if you do it right.
Do you have raised beds or something? What do you want me to learn from the cucumber raised growth? Beds. What do you want me to learn from the cucumber growth?
You talked about the they put lie detector tests on these plants, right?
They put polygraphs. They're not doing a lie detector on them. They're just they're strapping the same tech to it. That's Right.
And these plants are producing some kind of energy, right? That they can measure on the polygraph.
Yeah, that's correct. There's a signature.
Yeah, so there's something. Is there consciousness then at some level in the plant?
I wouldn't say that the plant is conscious. I mean, maybe in some areas of the universe it could be thinking like we do. But I think It shows how responsive nature is to our thoughts. And I think that should affirm to us that we need to be careful what we think because it can hurt things. Others.
Okay. Did I tell you about my story about the stop sign and the lightning bolt and all that?
What are you talking about? You're on a roll today, Mark.
I've never mentioned that to you.
No.
I've talked about it many times.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It was me and my cousin and one of my buddies, my closest buddy, and my two sisters, and we were out, and it was a cloudy sky, but there wasn't rain, there wasn't thunder, there wasn't anything like that. And I did something kind of crazy. We had these bullwhips out. And we were kind of acting like a good bullwhip. Yep. Anyway, and that's kind of a side tangent, but I said something like, I said something like, I can't remember what I said. Like, I'm going to have, or a lightning bolt is going to hit that stop sign. I said something to that effect. And about 10 seconds later, it happened.
That's great.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, there's two things that could have happened here. Right? There's two ways I see this.
Sure.
One, your consciousness was strong enough at that very moment to have a blip to say, hey, I'm going to guide the force of nature from the street sign up to the charge in the sky. Okay? Mm-hmm. Or two, you had a precognitive experience and said something that was about to happen that was very unlikely to happen, but did in fact happen.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I can't do it again.
Can't do it again. It's like Jesus. Do it once and don't do it again. You know?
So, I've told that story several times. Anyway.
It's really, really cool. Lightning's cool. You know what's cool about lightning? It reminds me a lot about life. Do you know why?
It does?
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's like this storm of energy, and then there's a flash, and it's gone. That's it. It's life.
Good point. Yeah.
Right? And there's tons of these flashes that all come together to say this is the totality of the storm. But for me, my life is just a lightning flash in the grand scheme of things. You know?
I think that's a very good analogy. I think that's pretty profound.
And what is light? The lightning. It's bright. It's loud. It's occupying a space for a moment. It can be blinding depending on whatever it might be.
We only really are down for an hour today. I just thought I would tell you. I don't think I made that clear.
No, you did. No, it's all good. It's all good. I got a road trip. I got a road trip after this anyway.
Okay. How far?
5 hours.
Oh,
no big deal.
Can you say where you're going? Or
yeah, I'm going down to Ruidoso, New Mexico. It's the southernmost ski area in the United States. So it's this paradise that sits in the middle of the desert. Like it couldn't be any more desert, and there's just a paradise on top of a hill.
Is there a lot of trees up there?
Tons.
Wow.
And the weather system is so strange.
Wow. So is it a little vacation?
Yeah, it's a little vacation. Me and the wife like to just disappear for a moment. It's good.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really healthy. Plus, get a little disc golf in. You ever do any disc golf, Mark?
No.
Oh my gosh, what a blast.
Man, we are out of time, Alexander.
No problem. Thanks for having me on today, Mark. I really appreciate it.
A lot of fun, buddy. Hope we talk soon.
Will do. See you later.